Hello, everyone. Welcome. Um, I'm delighted to welcome you to this next workshop in our Solana Hackathon. Um, I've just invited our speaker for today to come up to the stage and join me. So we'll be having a kind of Q&A AMA session with Yawn Rong, who should be joining me momentarily. There he is. Wonderful.
Hello,
Hi,
hello.
Yawn. How you doing?
Yeah, very good.
So we're delighted to be joined by Yawn today, co-founder of Find Satoshi Labs. Many of you will know him from STEPN, and he's here today to talk through his kind of journey in the Web3 space. We'll do a bit of past, bit of present, bit of future. And to that end, can we begin at the beginning? So could you take us back to 2021 and founding STEPN? Where did it come from, and how did you fit into things there?
Okay. Back to the 2021, everybody believed that time it will be the end of the bull market. So before STEPN, I was investing in the crypto space since 2017. So already backed a few years of experience, and the market has been double top, so it's doing really well for us. From the 2020 all the way to the end of 2021. So I was pretty much just relaxing back then. Um, 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 and then I've been relaxed for maybe 1 or 2 months. I just bored me, and back then Jerry, the other co-founder, just live like 50 meters from me, right? So I just go to drink beer with him every day, every afternoon, and we just talk shit. And then COVID hit, and then lockdown happened. And even more boring because we everybody pretty much grounded. Say in Australia, you cannot go outside 5 kilometers of or 3 kilometers radius of your house, otherwise police will come to check on you. And there's not much what we can do. Right? So we were just joking that because when you are not allowed to go out, you want to go out, and then there's so many people on the street just walking. And then I have this idea, say, how about we build something to help people just get a bit of exercise? And Jerry liked it, right? So he said, this is a great idea. But because this is the end of the bull market, we really have to do it really fast. So we quickly put together the team. So because I already have a crypto company, so I just said, all right, everybody, now we merge with Jerry's tech company. Jerry have another like a software development company. So we merged the two companies together. So for me, it's like the crypto researchers, the analytic, the marketing guy, and Jerry have all the tech people. So it's actually a pretty good fit. So we're just doing our own thing, and we build really, really quick, really, really fast. So we have the idea around the September of 2021, and we finished fundraising in 2 months, and we released the product in 3 months. And in the beginning of 2023, nobody expected the war happened, and everybody think this is it, right? This is it. And then all of a sudden things get better, and we got launched on the Binance, IEO, and everything take off basically.
It's really interesting. It's always fun to think about the various sort of coincidences that have to come together.
Yes.
STEPN for me is one of those really exciting products where you can see the various you've connected that weird pandemic moment where everyone was all of a sudden running in ways that they hadn't run before. I know I did quite a lot of running during lockdown, and also, yeah, as you say, the bull market, and of course we're now coming back round into the bull market. So how do you feel about the change in market conditions now? I imagine quite positively, but I'd love to hear your sort of take.
So everything we call crypto, we call Web3, everything we have now is built on top of Bitcoins. So people can disagree, but this is really what happened. So Bitcoin pretty much dictate the market trend. And this year, there's three things that are going to dictate Bitcoin's movement. I'm not giving any financial advices, so that we have that
Always
covered.
important to say.
Yes, but we have three narratives this year for Bitcoin. One, already have the ETF approval, right? So allegedly that money going to flow in, but it was not as many as people expected. But it's a realized good news. And then the second unrealized good news is the halving going to happen in April this year. So we have another 2.5 months roughly. And And then there will be the expectation of interest rate cut for US, but now that expectation also a little bit diminished, being more of a hawkish stand from the Fed. So I think if these three narrative, well, each have three people basically what is called speculating on the news and selling on the realization of the news, so there'll be three movement according to these two remaining upcoming event. So generally, I think the trend will be either stabilizing or up, but we shouldn't really talk about the trend. But I think everybody's more optimistic this year, especially that this is only the beginning of this year. We already have the ETF approved.
Great. And do you? So I suppose with that kind of change in market conditions, do you see Web3 becoming increasingly prosperous, but remaining kind of separate from the broader economy, or do you see this as an opportunity for kind of greater integration between what we might call the traditional economy?
I was reading a meme just the other day that it was talk about that all the other industry was talk about, oh, how can I keep my job? How can I not make redundant, or how can I just at least maintain my living standard? And for the crypto bro, and say, oh, I just make $100 million this year. So it's totally different mentality, right? So I think that reflects on the overall optimistic opinions of the Web3. And this is practically an attention market. So unfortunately, we'll talk about the top 1% making the 99% of everything. And everybody are just competing for that narrow attention that everybody have, either on social media or on the product side. So for what crypto or the Web3 can bring or can become, the founders out there really just need to having either compete with others for existing categories attention, or to create a new category and dominate that attention for a while until somebody come up and share that level of attention. I think this is still by far, I think the most the place that with the most potentials. People say, oh, AI or other things, like biology or medical, but those things are slow. They are, you can't see the result in 1-2 years, and this is different from this space, right? So literally, that you can start a successful project and then boom, that's it. And although that the survival rate is a bit low.
Right. I suppose I wanted to pick up on a phrase you just used there, the idea of the attention economy. It recalls, in some ways, we've described really sort of Web2 centric financialization models as an attention economy. I'm thinking particularly about stuff like Shana Zuboff's, The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, which is all about that kind of idea of the attention economy. Do you see our kind of monetization of attention kind of metamorphosing, changing into new forms in Web3, or do you think we'll still enter into that quite like Facebook model of sort of extracting rents out of attention?
I think I have to rephrase on the attention-based economy. So one is that attention will get you attention, but the attention will eventually evolve into consensus. I think that's for the long term that people need to really, really build or to create is either a small community or big community. You have to really foster the trust and foster the consensus among your community members that is, oh, I believe this project, or I believe the founder, or I think they're going to do great things. And then you cannot exploit that trust. You have to foster that trust. So once you can achieve a certain level of trust, you see how Bitcoin turned, from like buying pizzas now to what it is now, is that people come to the Bitcoin because it never fell to people. Although that is a protocol, it never fell. We as human will always make mistakes, always fail. So I think the bottom line is that we don't overdraft on our the trust we're building, because in the beginning the trust is really fragile. We have to really foster it. You have the attention by either creating a new product or make some big news, or doing some stupid things or silly things, and you'll get attention. Yes, but that attention sometimes only leave for a couple of days. Everything happens so fast in this space. I will still remember that hamster race was like such a big thing, and then you just sort of fade away in 2 weeks of time. Friend tag was like 3 months ish. So yes, you have the attention, then you have the stage. But once you have the stage, you need to think, how can I stay on the stage for long enough? And how can I maintain my position? That require not only that you can deliver things, but also require you to have a bit of a charisma, have a bit of, not bit of, a lot of good faith to foster the trust.
So there's a couple of steps that we need to make around. As you say, gaining attention. Yeah, the class clown knows that gaining attention is ultimately a fleeting experience and is followed by kind of recriminations, and converting that attention into trust and long-term interest, perhaps, which I think brings me on to one of the most interesting aspects of a lot of your work, which has been around incentives, right? Whether that's through kind of gamification or socialification. So I wonder if you could speak on the role of incentives in your work and perhaps thinking about what it means to gamify something.
Sure. So naturally, I think gamification thrives in the Web3 space. And naturally, you're looking at all the crypto consensus or protocol or layers, you name it. It's all built on incentivization. Bitcoin mining is the earliest form of incentivization, that you run the Bitcoin node, and then the protocol gives you, I think in the beginning, 50 Bitcoin, 100 Bitcoin, something like that, per approval of transactions. So it's always building that, and it's always that you have certain expectation of the returns, and you then carry out free for the project, expecting something in return in tokens or in any other ways, or in NFTs. And then once you got the token, then basically depending on the speculations, it reward you either tremendously or not so much, or you think, okay, for what it was, it's not worth it. So I think the whole space is built on incentivizations. That's number one. And number two is because we built the whole crypto space on incentivization, and people are pretty much financial driven, unfortunately, heavily in this space. The way that we say, how can we make less, focus on the financialization bit, because that's where DeFi happened in 2021. Everybody get crazy. You have all the type of food token or fruit token. We say, okay, gamification comes naturally after the tokenization and financialization. It acts as a second layer almost. Say, how can we make the whole thing act not only financial driven, but also fun to play or interesting to play. And then the third layer will be socialization, right? So you have people to socialize based on certain, the things you create, either a game or a platform or whatever. So it's acting as like additional layers so that it becomes meaningful. If we only have, because when we talk about tokenization or incentivization is the token, right? And what gives you the token value is the trading price or the future promise or roadmap, everything. But it'll be quite boring when you just say, okay, only thing you can do in this space is, trade fi, right? That's literally what happened in 2021, right? So, and that's literally happened because people make so much money in 2021, just trade fi. That booster the NFT, because it becomes something that no longer just flipping coins or mining coins or these type of things. So eventually people need to find, okay, trading is good, trading is profitable, but what else we can do, right? So this is the thing that, especially I think when people are building a gamification product or socialization product, it will be tremendously in your favor when it comes to middle or the end of the cycle, right? That's when people have money, when people say, okay, I just want to show off. Right? The Bored Ape literally come out as a way to show off, right? Say, I can afford this $1 million ape, right? Or JPEG, basically. I think that is sort of my understanding of tokenization is defaulted in this space. You have to give people incentives for them to participate, for them to do anything in this space. But once you give them the token, what else, right? This is a question we need to answer, right? So we build 2C product. So we deal with a lot of 2C customer, we sort of need to understand what they think, how, what is their spending pattern, and how do we think the product, and really to consider, okay, how can we embed different or improved version of incentivization model, number one. And two is what kind of retention we can achieve through gamification and socialization of the game feature or the product feature.
Right. It's really interesting. Can we sort of perhaps change tack? I'm still thinking about incentives, but I'm curious to get a sense of how you operate as a founder, as an operator in the space itself. So, what sort of incentivizes you? What's the carrot that you're pursuing with your work? What gets you out of bed?
If we talk about incentive ourselves, I think when we first start the project, we really just actually found the whole thing ourselves, almost, I think 50%. And we basically didn't take any salary pretty much, if you're asking this type of things, or you're asking different type of incentivization.
So, of course, that's one major incentive for doing any kind of work, right? Is that we get paid for it. But
sorry,
beyond...
the internet is breaking up.
Oh no, are you back now? I think we lost you for a moment there. Can you hear me? I think we've lost Yawn a little bit there. You can hear both, JP. Can everyone still hear both? Perhaps
okay,
not.
sorry, I have to
back.
change my internet. Yeah, sorry.
No worries, glad to have you back. So I suppose if we're thinking about incentives to do business, one of the major ones is financial, but beyond a certain point, that can't really move the needle. So perhaps rather than what incentivizes you, what motivates you would be a more accurate.
Motivate.
Yeah.
I think firstly, I have to be honest that firstly it is that I always want to do new things. Doing the crypto investment for I think 4-5 years is is profitable, but it's a bit of boring. So I jumped career quite wildly from one industry to the other. So I think starting the crypto project will be actually a quite challenging thing, and certainly going to be very involving. So I think it's really what motivated is that for in the beginning is that we want to build something that really work, for a while, and also we want to I think ambitiously do something and make people remember, we've been there, right? So that's sort of the early motivation. But as we grow bigger, I think the motivation become how can we foster the community, how can we maintain the community, how can I foster the team and provide jobs, and that becomes sort of the later stage of motivation.
That's interesting. And do you see a connection between your sort of work on? So I suppose one of the kind of things that interests me about STEPN is you've tried to, and quite successfully, have created a series of incentives around what is normally a relatively under-incentivized healthy behavior, which is going outside. I know most of us working will sit at our desks 8 hours a day and have very little, are actively disincentivized from getting up, because that means you're not getting stuff done. So my question around that is whether you see other kind of areas of activity that you might want to inject what we might think of as really positive incentives into.
I think we just get quite lucky when we firstly, I think we didn't come up with the most original idea of Moonturn, right? Back then, that's what we call Moonturn. It's been pioneered, I think, back in 2017 by other companies. But I think what we made it is we made it quite successful in the Web3 space through incentivization, basically, and through using the NFTs as well. I think being almost live for 3 years, Yes. I think now people just having the habit of going out for exercise. So we actually also explored other model of incentivization. We build prototypes, but it's not as good as the moving bit, right? So because it's so simple, right? So everyone can do it, and intuitive, and everything is, you don't need people to teach you. You just naturally, you look at app, you pretty much know how it works. So onboarding is super easy. I think that's one of the advantage of us compared to the other product we're building, like the actual strategic game require much more sort of planning and everything. You can see that when onboarding is much more difficult when you talk about STEPN onboarding.
Sure. So I suppose my kind of final big question around STEPN is before we move on to the present and the exciting stuff that you guys are working on, is around what the future of gamified fitness looks like for you. We had those kind of Web 2 offerings where we were like the classic for runners in the audience is Strava. Yeah, if you don't post it on Strava, it really doesn't count in that weird way. They've done something interesting there. Or virtual worlds like Zwift for cycling is a big one for those guys. And even like narrative-driven running experiences, like Zombies Run, that kind of thing. What do you see as the kind of particular Web3 spin there? How might Web3 change gamified fitness?
Okay, gamified fitness. One thing, the most important thing is anti-cheating, because you are using the motion data to reward and incentivize people, right? So how can you verify the motion data is genuine? So they can be replay attack, which is difficult. Most I think hard to prevent attack is that they will record an exercise themselves and keep replaying that, simulating the motion data. And more amateur is more like faking the GPS or using the little pendulum thing on your mobile. We spent, I think, from day one to develop the AI algorithms to pick cheatings, and it's been almost 2 to 3 years. We spend a lot of energy. We spend almost 50% of energy on building the anti-cheating mechanics, because you have to ensure all the input are genuine, so that one person can only work so much every day. But if you allow anyone to cheat, they can scale this quite drastically, and you'll be in big trouble. So everything we do is to work around on cheating preventions, and that's number one. And without that, your economy is just gonna collapse, And I see other trying to use like a bounding curve or like diminishing returns to battle the cheating. But the main issue is that when you're using that, you say, okay, I cannot tell if this person is cheating or not. I'll just reward very little for the top movers. But when you reward a little for the top movers, you actually discourage them to spend or participate, right? So it's a punishment for people that do more. So that always creates issues, because for all the games, right, when you talk about games or all the designs, you need big spenders to support the small people that selling the asset or working. Basically, it's almost like a work to earn, right? So you work, you earn some token, you sell the token to the big spenders, they'll buy the token, they'll get better sneaker, So that economy have to work. I think when we talk about actual tokenomic designs, the tokenomic design is not come in just one set sort of design, right? It actually become more of an evolving design. When we talk about designs, is for one that you have to firstly make this 2 cycle work. One is the buying demand for the big spenders, and also the selling from the small users. That cycle gonna have to work in the beginning, and then you're looking at what other things we can do. For example, I think in 2022, I sort of point out that it's no longer move to learn; it become achieve to learn. So what is become achieve to learn is you want to achieve a certain milestones. For example, run 2,000 kilometers, or having an epic sneaker, for example. So you have to meet certain criteria, and then you get certain airdrops, you get this and that. So it become almost like behavior gated incentivization, rather than just very basic. You move the NFT and then you get some tokens, and then we develop the badge system. Now we can very accurately to reward people based on the badge level, this and that. And this year we are gonna launch 2 additional updates for STEPN, and to totally change the new model, which I cannot say basically, but we will actually be able to talk about that in the middle of this year, which the first big update gonna happen is we are transitioning to another model, because you have to really adapt to your user base, and you also have to adapt to the market. You cannot, I think the twin token system have been outdated. That was like Axie era, right? So that's like eons ago. And now everybody was talking, this and that, and like inscriptions, and even NFT become not trendy anymore. So we're looking at, okay, what other things we can build? What other things we can build with what is trending, right? So that's I think also quite important.
We'll definitely have to get something in the calendar to have you back in a few months to talk about the STEPN updates. It's very exciting. It's an interesting question, isn't it? Because we can always, you could map a history of games as a war between people who set rules and people who play within them in increasingly unfair feeling ways, right? So we're constantly sort of fighting. And I suppose one of the interesting things about Web3 is you turn a game into an economy, and all of a sudden those problems become infinitely more existential than like aimbots on Counter-Strike, or someone moving chess pieces when someone else isn't looking. It's really exciting. But it's interesting to see you kind of constantly, that your approach to this is constant sort of reflection and adaptation. I want to ask you about what you're up to now. So you've just, in the past few weeks, launched Gas Hero, which marks a kind of a bit of a change for you away from some of the models of STEPN. It's a development, perhaps. Could you tell us more? I don't know if everyone in the audience is entirely familiar.
Sure. So Gas Hero is an actual game. So STEPN people argue this is not a game, but Gas Hero is a proper game we launched with WebGL. So basically, it's a browser-based game. To launch the Gas Hero, we actually did a whole lot of preparation works, which I'll cover that later. But what Gas Hero is what we call the social experiment, almost like Bitcoin. What it does is that you put player into a social structure. And for example, what is social structure is that you will have a base or a clan. Each clan will have 9 users. And each 9 clan will become a guild. And each 9 guild become a city. Each 9 city become like a country, for example. So you have over 200 countries. But we only open, I think, 15 countries in the beginning, so that people will naturally feel this little at the bottom level, right? This is the thing that we find a lot of issue with the metaverse project. Again, back in a couple of years ago, is that you go into the metaverse, you have an big empty city. You don't know who you interact with. You don't know who to ask. You don't know who to play. There's basically nothing to interact. But once I put people into a confined space, normally they become friends, or they're already friends, and they will work together. It's almost like the 10,000 years ago when people are living in Africa, where people hunt together, where people work together. So this is the same logic, is that your 9 neighbor or 9 friends or clan member have to act in sync to each other, to fight boss, to do things, to contribute to the clan. And then you have a clan leader. And this clan leader will be entitled for some taxation happened with all the trade happening in the clan. So you can see that we're trying to create a self-sufficient economy. And also the NFTs or the heroes will die in a few days. So meaning that you will use your hero to battle either with other players or to battle with the environment to earn things. And you trade things, and you make new hero. The hero can breed, and just keep recycling. Right? When hero die, the hero become some sort of hero shard. This shard can become your talent, and then your new hero will have certain talent and become stronger and stronger and stronger. And then this is the basic level, right? This is the wealth level, right? So, okay, how can I play to earn type of thing? But as you progress to the top of the pyramid of the social structure, you will get struggled because no longer that you can resolve things with money. You have to resolve things with your social structures. You have to get people to vote for you. You become a mayor, you can become country leaders. You have access to more tax. You need to work on your social skills, right? How can you bring strong people to your clan, not the other place? You need to bribe people, or you need to betray other people. So it becomes very much like a real society. Things get more interesting, especially when it comes to the PvP war, right? So when people actually deceiving their weapon or their power, and right before they fight, they pull out all the expensive equipment. Right. And they're just been, I think the public testing was everybody thinking one player is going to win. But there was another player secretly distributing all his weapons and heroes to 9 different accounts. And right before the war, he pulled these 9 accounts asset into one and win the final battle. So and also you can fly to other city to raid that city of their tax, but you could be raided by others while you are raiding others, right? So you can see this is like a very sociable product, right? So you need to actually send spies to the other guild. They say, okay, what is going on here? Are you going to fight with some other guild, or are you going to come to me while I'm, so it's much more complex. It's a totally sociable product. So we have the wealth, we have the fame that can get you wealth, and then you will have the power struggle. And then these things just keep recycling with power, with wealth, with fame. And that everything is done through the NFTs. And all this influx of, let's say, purchase of NFTs contribute to tax, that become the income for people. Right. I think that explained a bit long, but you can see is something new we designed. Not rely on sort of the old incentivization model. This is something that both incorporate socialization and NFT-nomics. And overall, the settlement of NFT are in our token. So you can see it's more complex designs of both NFT-nomic and tokenomics.
That's really interesting. How do you see Gas Hero in relation to games that we have already? Stuff like, I'm thinking about EVE Online, the game that you read an article about every couple of years, where they some journalists will describe the ways in which like X $100,000 worth of spaceships have been destroyed in what I think is essentially a spreadsheets in space simulator game. How do you think about your kind of relationship to those games which do contain real world value, as it were?
Gas Hero will have much faster pace than EVE Online. So being Web3, people are just competing for power, and they will do anything they can to understand what they are up against. And they will be constantly strategy evolved, because there will be no, if you have your sort of hero lineup exposed to others, they can have a lineup just against you. So it's almost on a social level, I think it's very much like EVE Online, right? So people are fighting, people are collecting from the environment, and then they use what they collect from the environment to better themselves, and then fight each other. So the main, I think, the main fun or the main prize come in the PvP. For example, we just had our first PvP in 2 weeks, and the prize pool have become already, I think, 20 million GMT, which was about $3 billion. And that's even more prize than the Dota or the prize pool for the whole year. I think this is sort of the beauty of Web3, that when you talk about token standardization, it doesn't have to be done in the old way, right? It can be done in this way, that the tax, everything people spending accumulate into a pool, and people just try to kill each other for that pool. And while they are killing each other, you can either just use the sheer force, as I'll just invest a lot of money, right? I have the top heroes. But you also expose yourself, because everybody knows you are very strong. They could use other ways to undermine you, right? So while reading others, read your city, or have some spies understand your strategy, and then have something to against you. So yeah, again, social bid very much like EVE Online, but much faster pace and much more reward.
I think that will come as welcome news to people who don't like coming home from work to look at yet more spreadsheets, right? That's we love faster pace. So, kind of more broadly, then, what do you see as sort of exciting developments in our kind of industry, in our space at the moment? What do you see as promising?
Unfortunately, I think there's not a lot of things that have done in the new sort of exciting way, right? So we have I think there has been like reoccurring good or hype news out there, but when we talk about like something that can totally change the landscape, it's really rare when you come to something like that type of opportunities. I think when we talk about exciting things, it come in different categories, right? So you can have the overall efficiency increasement type of category. We talk about, okay, maybe the Celestia, the TIA, the cheaper settlement, and we'll talk about maybe like account abstractions, or like the Ethereum upgrade. Those are the technical bit. Yes, you need a better tech sort of foundation to build high throughput, sort of a product. So it's the foundation of things we can build. And then you're looking at, okay, we have the technical thing covered. Okay, what are the two things or three things? What we're looking at is either one is that better trading. So either you have sort of a GMX type of, leverage trading, or, backing gambling, basically leveraging, better leveraging, or, low bid type of things. That's one. Or you have the other two category or three category is the game side, right? So I still think that game in the Web3 is still gonna be one of the most productive category that can have actual product people can actually enjoy. So gamification bit, and then you have the social bit. The social. I think the social file has been out there for many years, and I was talk heavily about social file back in 2021, but then when we're actually thinking about designing a product, we really can balance the social, the financial bit, and also the verification of social, right? Because it's so easy to fake social and then transform things, and also when you're adding financialization into anything that social initiatives is become a little bit awkward, and we can never get it quite right. So we give up on social fi. We say, okay, forget about the financial bit. How about we building a social product with gamification and some tokenization model, and then we have the gas here. So that's sort of our pathway of I think building product. We sort of we're always thinking about, let's just build something new, but you cannot build something that so exceeding other people's realm of understanding, because it'll be so difficult for them to understand. And then people don't understand, they will not use it. You want to build something that they can vaguely relate it to, or they can vaguely understand, but still quite interesting to find out because they have never seen something similar. You build something that they think they know how to work. But when they dig deeper, they don't know how things work. They have to invest a lot of energy, time to understand, and then you have their attention. And then that's, so I think always trying to think of something new in the vicinity of people's understand realms, and then to suddenly capture their attention, because I don't think the gradual growth is working in this space. Either you make 10,000 newcomers every single day, or grinding, I think, is necessary, but grinding will not get you the end result. You can grind, and then suddenly take off. I think that's normally how things, or how good projects come out. Yeah, so it's a bit of rambling.
No, it's really interesting. How does it feel to work in, as a founder, someone with the capital stake in an environment in which it is go big or go home? That's the idea, isn't it? How do you find? Would you prefer to work in an environment where you could count on 6% gains year on year, pretty much whatever happens, without the possibility for absolutely exponential growth?
I think the one, there's never any steady growth returns in this space. I mean, looking at Celsius and BlockFi and everything, pretty much. Back then I actually used them, and it's good until it doesn't, right? So steady return, I don't think people come to the crypto for steady returns, right? and it's really about when setting up an ambitious goal and times 10. So okay, this is the result we're going to work on. I think a lot of work is basically just revolve around. On one side, you have to be really, really realistic and practical on execution level, but on the other side, you have to be really ambitious of setting goals, because I think people, especially the founders, yes, you're going to work your ass off 20 hours a day, something like that, but you also need to really incentivize or do a lot of pit talks to the staffs, because ultimately you as a single person cannot outperform the whole team, right? So you need everybody to overcome whatever they are not good at and do a 200% or 300% of the normal capacity. I think that's sort of the reason that we have a very good speed in the early stage. We just bulldozing the whole roadblocks. So the roadblocks, we find a walkway of that roadblock, and we keep going. We have really just need to transform our energy to the people working for us, and that will offload all of your work, and then we can actually think about things that are more strategic. Let's say, how can we get people's attention? And because for people that are working, they don't have your resources, they don't know a lot of things going on. So when they have like marketing proposal, or they have like a dev proposal, they're very conservative. You cannot be that. You're going to be bold. You're going to be like, that's not going to work. We're going to try some guerrilla marketing, right? So sometimes it doesn't work, but when it works, you work really well. I think it's constantly that you're testing what works, what doesn't, in rapid speed, and then you will have your own sort of peak, and then you basically just keep doing that until it doesn't, and then you find another one.
It's really it's exciting. We're going to hand over to audience questions pretty soon. I've got one final question. I think it might be a bit of a mean one. I'm interested in that idea of social fi that you described. I was thinking about the ways in which finance throughout history has kind of always been a way of indexing, of mapping relationships between people, right? If you think prior to the age of kind of institutional credit, you loan someone 5 shillings, you do that on trust. You don't have any kind of index or credit score. You do it because you know them. So thinking about that kind of long history of how finance is closely related to the social, what do you see as the kind of Web3 future of social finance? How do you make that really social?
Okay, I think the financial bit must be a bonus for the social bit. And why we social is because that we are emotional, right? If we are all robots, we don't need social. We just need communication. And social involved in emotion and involved in a lot of irrational decisions and also a lot of rational decisions, or the decision you think is rational but irrational. And it involved it's almost like a chaos theory, right? So when there's a total chaos, you actually have some orders. And I think for the socialization bit is about how we can put a whole bunch of random person from different culture, different background, different income levels into one spot and see how they evolve and have customs and have their own sort of festivals and have their own laws and have their own social networks. And with that social network being consolidated, you will have value emerge from that social structure. And once the social structure become more robust, you will have cultures, you will have like all the other things, and those things will add value. And the financialization will kick in for that bit of the value. You cannot just financialize the social because it has no value. The socialization has to have value first, and value need trust, value need to be fostered, value need time to build. So I think anything that relates to the social side, I think the financial will be something inferior or like peripheral of the social bit and come much in the later stage. Otherwise, it will just become a spam fest where people just spam GM and then let me just farm my GM token. It just doesn't work, right? So I think we need to be much patient when it comes with social product, and to really, I think, use the human nature as a way to make the product work.
It's interesting.
Human is a component of social. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and the social necessarily generates some level of the system. As you said, that image of spamming GM in the chat, hoping to kind of make a quick buck, is necessarily a sort of unsustainable business model. It might work throughout the entire ecosystem, but it definitely doesn't work for the very specific thing that you're engaging with for very long. On that note, I'd like to. So Ralph has asked in the chat an interesting question. In the early days of the project, how did you foster an active community? We might think more broadly about how you're working to foster an active community in Gas Hero now as well.
I think in early stage with STEPN, we done weekly AMA, and we do a lot of interactions. I think there has this topic has been covered several times, and for what I read also, which I agree, is that you want to spend enough time, or at least half of your time, in the community Discord. You want to know who is your top 100 users, and you need to understand what they think about the product. Not necessarily you need to change your product according to them, but you need to certainly understand what their motivations. You need to understand why they're giving you this such recommendation, so you can take more of a holistic view of where the product's going. And one thing I think the beauty of Web3, especially Web3 project, is that you don't need to build a whole product before you deliver it. You build a portion of it, and then you deliver that alongside with community, right? You take a lot of community input. It's almost like you and community grow the product together, and the community will take tremendous ownerships of this. And I think that's one thing. And the second thing, I think, is more that you as a founder need to be really sincere with a lot of things. And this is crypto. So basically, price can crash, price can pump. So you need to know who's your true friends. And there will be people almost deceiving as friends when the price is pumping. You understand what's going on. You need to understand that there's no inside trading. There's no nepotism really happens. And you want to have your ambassador group. You want to have, your moat, because nothing goes up always. When if you're going up long enough, high enough, you will crash eventually, right? And then either you correct, or you keep crashing, or you go back. So you need to almost race against the time to build your moat, meaning that you need to have your ambassador program to foster community and to help you to maintain the community. That cannot be done by one person. So you need to do a group, and to you as a founder, you basically need to be one in the control of the whole situation. You cannot have your project hijacked by anyone, right? That also happens. You really need to, this is the thing that actually I remember I was talking in one of the podcasts. You are the distributor. You found the product, you're the distributor. When you are the distributor, you need to know what kind of resources you are distributing to, and also what kind of money you are making from. And then you need to shuffle, right? So sometimes it's an easy decision, sometimes a hard decision. So if you do it wrong, you have a bit of a backslash, right? So I think generosity is always good, especially for the beginning, right? You need to incentivize people big enough for them to change the behavior. And especially in the early stage, everything is pretty risky. So you want to reward your early adopters. So we still run the Trailblazer program every year to airdrop to our early adopters or the users that are being active. As a token say, thank you for being with us. And we run the STEPN, which is a September event, also similar thing for saying thank you to our users.
It's interesting. So, I mean, it's probably, you might think of it as broadly good for the ecosystem as a whole to reward early adoption, right? You want people to be taking risks and scouting out new projects and exciting stuff. I think kind of related to these questions around communities, Mark Paul asks whether STEPN's NFTs operate across multiple blockchains. If so, is this design done for a specific reason?
Currently, we are on 3 chains: the Solana, the BNB, and then the Ethereum. We've done that. It's taken the inspiration of more like a World of Warcraft, because in World of Warcraft, you have identical game in different realms. Each realm have a different stage of development. So we have done the Solana one in the beginning. Then we say, okay, what about we open up another identical realm on the BNB, and then so on the Ethereum, so that we can mimicking the sort of the early stage of growth, and migrating people from one to the other and sustain the growth. So that was the thinking, but because people already know how things work, right? So it served not as more like an intended purpose, but still there are people that are more like a Solana maxi or Ethereum maxi or BNB maxi. They say, I'm not going to do other chain, but just this one. So we're trying to operating on multiple chains, as many as possible, so that we can capture different type of audience. For example, the Gas Zero is operating on Polygon. We have more, which is on Solana, ETH, and Polygon. And then STEPN is on BNB, ETH, and Solana. So we're trying to tap into different layer 1 for broader reach of user and audience. I think that still serve the purpose of having multi-chains.
And that's creating broad churches, I think, is a kind of useful approach, right? So you've shared. So this has been a really kind of rich. Your inputs, Yawn, have been so rich. I was wondering if we're kind of wrapping up. Do you have any final words of wisdom that you might want to share with any kind of prospective Web3 founders, builders in our audience? Maybe stuff for people just getting started. What would you tell them?
Okay. I think one thing that I find particularly important, because I come from more of an investment, crypto investment type of space, and then I'm not doing project myself. Sort of, I know the game of both sides. So which I think when the team is small, understand the market and understand the environment become very important. If you I major in biology, so if you're looking at the world of biology, right? So small insect or mammal animal always are more more alert or cautious on the surrounding environment. So that I think in the early stage, I spend a lot of time just to trying to see, where is this, what is the trend for the next month or next day or next week. And the war really make me really nervous. The interest had made me really nervous. But I think to understand as much as possible of your surrounding environment will become important for the survival of the project. If things doesn't look well, you probably want to sort out your treasury before, market crash or things like that. That's number one. And number two, I think is there are so many homogeneous product and project out there. And again, we mentioned this is attention business and, the top-down eat all type of thing. I think spend a lot of time planning rather than copying. I think it's super important. I mean, not saying that copy is wrong because everybody copy each other, right? So how can we refer and make the whole thing better while determine how I think a successful project going on. And I think the third thing is on execution. And because there are so many great marketers in this space, and there are so many great charismatic people out there can really convince people, but it's all come down to really execute of what you promises. And always that when you are promising things and you are promising too much, you cannot deliver, you get into trouble. But equally, when you just keep building, disregard the market need, the market trend, or disregard the community, disregard everything, that also bad, because you might building something that never gonna use. So we need to really focus on the market to understand what's going on, to understand what is trendy, what is the hype, and also to capture that hype and to capture that trendy thing through fast executions. I think everything matters. If one thing matters in this space is just speed, because if you try frequently enough, you will have your opportunity. You have your chance. You have your you'll be on the stage, and then how long you can stay on the stage is really up to how you can continue to shift yourself to fit for the market. I think everything else is pretty much so unpredictable. So there's not much I think I can talk about, but I think for what I mentioned, plus I think hiring also super important, that the first 10 people you hire pretty much set the company cultures. And when you hire the 10 people, you need to really work on the retentions, because if you don't, you're gonna fire the underperforming people, but when your people are leaving so frequently, that also jeopardizes on the company culture. So we want to foster a very good company culture, focused on delivery, focused on objectives, not focused on fighting for power or things alike, and sincere and genuine people. That's super important, because you have to sort out your backyard before you can actually do things. So eventually the team gonna expand. Eventually the team gonna expand beyond your founding, team. And the founding team really need to set the cultures, and then the new people will be part of that culture, and then the culture will evolve. A lot of people actually forget how important the new people can make the company, because the new people eventually become the old people, right? And you need to provide a visible career path for them, so that they will stay. The cool people stay. and you will not lose. I think we went through the stage where we have fired a lot of people, hired a lot of people, and then you can see the whole company become a bit of a chaotic thing, right? Because people don't know what happened, and they retain the work they work on, and then you lost portion of the progress, until now we have established set team now. Things become much more smoother, right? You have to be a fine-tuned machine before you can do the 100 miles per hour.
Yeah. I think that's really useful. It's interesting to see how much of the language that you use around describing building, STEPN and Gas Hero, you use also for building like the company culture itself. It's interesting to see that this is a way of thinking that clearly runs through so much of what you do, and it's really exciting to get to work through that with you. I'm afraid that's pretty much all the time we have for today. Yawn, it's been so wonderful to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure everyone in the audience can join me in giving him a big hand and saying thank you. We hope, as I say, we hope to speak to you soon when you can share news about updates and whatnot. I'm sure our audience would love to hear from you again.
No worries.
But I wish you a really good day, good evening, wherever you are, and yes, bye for now.